The 2019 The Grudge has been on my to-watch list for quite a while, and I finally got around to watching it, and unfortunately it's not very good. The acting is good. The horror aspects are very, very good. There are some brilliant jump scares, but the narrative is an utter mess. This was released in 2019, of course, directed and written by Nicolas Pesce, or Pesce, I apologise if I've mispronounced that. And we have a cast including Tara Westwood, Junko Bailey, David Lawrence Brown, and various others. We have Andrea Riseborough as Detective Muldoon, maybe my favourite character in the whole film, and that's probably the only thing that I genuinely liked, the character of Detective Muldoon, and also some of the horror elements. But the story is just completely all over the place, and it was just a chore rather than an enjoyable experience. I will say that I don't have the strongest memory of the other Grudge films. I've seen the original, I've also seen the original remake and The Grudge 2. I don't know if I've seen The Grudge 3. Would it have made a difference? I doubt it. This one is taking place before and during those three films, the 2004 Grudge and the two sequels, and the timeline is an absolute mess. And it just does not work very well at all. The basic premise is absolutely fine. It's about this horrendous spirit who curses this house, and people who are there get into very horrendous situations. That's the weakest description of any film I've ever given, ever. It's a traditional horror film where we have this property and anybody who comes into contact with it is in serious danger. As a concept, no problems at all. But they tried to do something really, I want to say creative with the timeline, but I think it was a really poor decision. And it's just an absolute mess. And I don't think any of this works as a story. As I said, though, the horror elements are very good. I wouldn't say I was terrified, but there were some pretty strong jump scares, some moments that did take me by surprise. For the most part, it does have a nice atmosphere, and some of the characters are okay. As I said, I quite like Detective Muldoon, but for the most part, the film is just a tedious experience. There's nothing about the story that works well. It's an absolute mess. The horror aspect is quite good. So I don't recommend it because it's not a good experience, but it absolutely had potential as being a really scary film. If they'd taken a different direction with it, if they tried to tell a different story, or if the narrative structure was a little bit better, it could have been an okay experience. It could have been a really fantastic experience if the narrative was basically completely different, but they did lean into the same horror elements. So it doesn't work. Would I recommend it? Only if you're a really, really big fan of the Grudge films and you want to see what it's like. But if you're just looking for a good horror film, I'd say no. I am now going to go back and watch the other Grudges. I think I've reviewed the 2004 one, but I probably will rewatch that. And then I'll watch The Grudge 2 and The Grudge 3. Well, I might do. I'll see how the second one is, and then I might watch the third one. I've seen the original film from 2002. I think there are some sequels to that which I haven't seen. So I have quite a journey with the Grudge films, and I'm looking forward to those. But unfortunately, the 2019 The Grudge is not a good experience. It's not an enjoyable film. There wasn't anything about it that I enjoyed. And, well, that's not true. I enjoyed the horror aspects. But because the journey to get to those horror aspects was just horrendous, I ultimately can't recommend it. If my opinion happens to change after I watch and rewatch the other Grudge films, which I doubt it will, because the narrative structure is still horrendous, I will. If my opinion changes, I will update my thoughts, but I doubt that's going to happen. I will only rewatch this if I love the other Grudge films and I think maybe I could have a different perspective. But judging this now as somebody who has seen most, but not all of the other Grudge films, and who isn't obsessed with them, they're not my favourite horror films, but maybe that will change when I rewatch them. I found The Grudge 2019 to be just a very, really horrendous experience. It was really difficult to sit through, and the horror elements, as good as they are not so good that it's worth sitting through the film. It had a lot of potential, and unfortunately it just did not deliver.